Good evening and welcome to the extraordinary meeting of Council. Today is Wednesday, it's the 10th of June and it's 6:30 p.m. I'll start with an acknowledgement of country. Lithgow City Council acknowledges the Wiradjuri elders past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation, the original custodians on the land on which Lithgow's community reside. The Council also extends our respects to our neighbouring nations. Declaration of webcasting. I inform all those in attendance at this meeting that the meeting is being webcast and that those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements concerning any person, council or employee and refrain from discussing those matters subject to closed council proceeding as indicated in clause 14.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Public attendance. In accordance with the mandatory requirements of the New South Wales Local Government Code of Meeting Practice, clause 1520, members of the public attending a meeting of Council 1 must remain silent during the meeting unless invited by the chairperson to speak, must not bring flags, signs or protest symbols to the meeting and must not disrupt the meeting. Council meeting emergency procedures. I'll hand her over to Director Browning.
In the case of emergency, please follow the emergency warden instructions, who will be identified by coloured helmets and fluorescent council vests. Wardens will determine if any evacuation is required in the appropriate exit path. In the event of a fire, do not use the lift. If you require personal assistance in an evacuation, please advise a warden. In the event of an evacuation, no one is to re-enter the building until advised by the Chief Warden. The community in attendance in the public gallery are requested to scan the QR code to register your attendance for safety purposes.
Thank you, Director Browning. Do I have any apologies? I have one from Councillor Tysus. He's put in a leave of absence. Do I have any others?
Councillor Goodwin.
Yeah, he's actually going to, it'll be apology for the moment until we deal with the first item. So thank you, Councillor Statham. Can I have someone move those, please? Councillor Ring, can I have a second? Thank you. Councillor Marnie. Oh, Councillor Statham got in first. If there's no opposition to that, I'll consider that carried. Thank you. Declaration of interest. Do we have any? No? Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to administration reports, which is the Code of Meeting Practice. Do I have any motions, councillors, or what would you like to do with the recommendation in front?
I'd like to move the recommendation as it sits.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Do I have a seconder? Happy to second, Councillor Martin. Thank you, Councillor Ring.
I don't think there's much to discuss. We know why we're in this position. The legislation backing the changes did not get through the second sitting or got kicked out of Parliament. Basically, the draft we're looking at to adopt, we discussed and debated late last year. And basically, the sooner we get it out, the sooner we can move forward. Basically, all I've got to say.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Money?
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Any further debate on the matter? I'll just say that I understand that the Minister will be bringing forward another Code of Meeting Practice. I just hope that feedback is taken on board.
Hopefully you'll consult with people this time a bit better.
It'll be nice.
Can I please ask a question?
Sure.
Mayor Coleman, what will be the result then is there going to be still no flyers allowed in chambers and no banners? Where will that come in?
We go back to, once this is rescinded,
Yes.
this goes out onto public expedition and then we get public comment and then this won't be then used until July. Once this is rescinded, we actually go back to the 26th of April 2022 Code of Meeting Practice, which is the one that we chaired at the very beginning of this term. And so in that code, you will find in regards to what you're asking about. So we go back to 2022, which includes public forum being part of the meeting. And the 26th one goes on to public expedition. And then if we don't get any applications or we don't get any submissions, that's automatically adopted, which I see that will be adopted for the July meeting. So we've got
Just one more question.
Sure.
From the Minister for Local Government, why are we putting this out? he's stopped that obviously, and that's been
The upper house has actually stopped it, not the minister. So the upper house has actually made a calling to not accept it. So it's the upper house that where we are today. So on advice from the Office of Local Government, we have to rescind 2025. We have to put out our own, which is 2026. But in the meantime, we go back to 2022. It's very confusing.
Thank you.
Any further debate? No? I'll hand back to you, Councillor Ring, for right of reply.
Just put it to the vote, please.
Okay. I'll put it to you. All those in favour? All those against, declare that carried. Before we move on, I need a motion to be moved so that Councillor Goodwin can now contribute, because we've rescinded 2025 and now we go back to 2022. So can I please have someone move under clause 5.24 under the 2022 Code of Meeting Practice that Councillor Goodwin is allowed to
I'll move that.
join the meeting via audio visual link. And I needed a seconder for that. So Councillor Marty, you're happy to do that? So that's moved by Councillor Ring. That's seconded by Councillor Marty. Is there any opposition to that? No? Oh, then, if there's no opposition, I'll consider that carried. We're happy to do that. That's procedural. Councillor Goodwin, are you there? Just wait 2 seconds. Councillor Goodwin, are you there?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We're now up to the next item, which we will have a look at, which is 1.2, which is Walgan Road interim works, tender outcome and revised procurement approach. Do I have any motions, councillors?
I'd like to move with a minor amendment, if I may.
Yep. Do you have a seconder, Councillor Ring?
Probably should read the amendment before
Yeah, that'd be
someone
lovely.
seconds. On point 5, I would like point A to read, finalise the procurement process, evaluate submissions and progress to contract award, subject to appropriate resolution of insurance provisions and risk allocation.
That sounds great. Would anybody like to second that?
For the purpose of debate, I will.
Well, Councillor Evangelides. Yeah, Councillor Evangelides, are you happy to second that?
For the purpose of debate.
He just put a finger up, so I just thought I'd catch him while I could. All right, that's fine. Councillor.
Could that be read again, please?
Yeah, can we have that again, please, Councillor?
Oh, good.
All right. Can we just have a look? 5A.
Apologies. The reason for the amendment is when you look at the risk assessment on page 11 of 20, it talks about where are we? Tender pricing may not align with the budget, yada yada. Negotiations under the GC 21 framework, which is the contracts being used, may also be complex, particularly in agreeing on appropriate insurance provisions and risk allocations. Personally, as a council, I want to make sure that they are being dealt with. I believe it needs to be in the resolution. We know that there are issues with insuring the road once the works are completed. I have concerns, and I understand that this wasn't the reason the larger companies didn't apply, but if the smaller companies can't get appropriate insurance, where are we? What happens? Are we going to take the risk on? And I know under the enterprise agreement that the administration can make the decision, but this is such a major decision. I believe it's necessary to have that in there just to make sure we are covered. I need to know that it's all signed off. It's not about trusting or not trusting the general manager, but this is about governance. We need to make sure that the insurance provisions and the risk allocation has been appropriately dealt with. And if that's done, I'm happy for the general manager to sign off on it.
A question, Councillor Ring?
No, it's just rhetorical. If anything, I'm happy if it's done. It has to be a consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Evangelides?
I concur with Councillor Ring.
That sounds great. Any further debate on this matter? Councillor Smith?
Can I just to fill me in a bit here, like why did the bigger companies not want to actually put in a tender?
General Manager, do we know that answer?
Oh, just tell us.
Can you answer, Councillor Ring? Do you mind?
It has more to do with the complexity of the works, not having the time to get up and do it, and potentially the amount of profit they were going to make was a lot less than what they could do in Sydney or other areas. That pretty much is in a nutshell. I'm happy for the general manager to add a bit more to it.
General Manager, would you like to?
Through you, Mayor,
Comment?
that is correct, and just to add to that, the tender was released to a large number of pre-qualified contractors. However, only a small number even showed interest in the pre-tender meeting, so there was low interest from the start from the pre-qualified contractors who were invited to tender.
Councillor Statham?
I think that looking after the insurance side of it is imperative. We want it done as soon as possible. It's been going round the roundabout on a merry-go-round now for several years. The people down there would be struggling, and I feel for them. How can we guarantee the workers? Are you expecting the workers to have council insurance as well as their insurance? Are you expecting every resident down there to have public liability as well, council giving them a coverage? How will that work? Because we don't want a death. We don't want an accident. We don't want a catastrophe. How are we going to make sure when nobody wants to touch it, there's a reason for something, it's extra dangerous? I've been down there when it was first being done. So how are we going to actually identify that the problem could be a serious one? It may never happen, but what happens if it is? Where do people go to get coverage, and how can they feel confident?
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, the council would not take on any insurance and pay for any insurance cover for residents. The issue in front of us is regarding interim works, which is to allow access similar to the donkey steps for residents and businesses and their customers on a two-wheel drive road, and it will also allow access for a certain size of truck as well to be able to go down there for deliveries, etc. So it's much better than the donkey steps. However, it is interim access. The permanent solution for Walgan access hasn't been determined yet and will be subject to a multi-criteria analysis, which is an investigation of all of the options. So that these questions will come into that analysis, which will be conducted in around within a few months' time.
That's one other question. People have done all those before, a couple of years ago. All those tests, everything was done. Now, why are we spending another month before we can do anything? Like, has that changed? Has the situation changed with the hillsides and what we expected? That's why we didn't want anybody using the roads. Contrary to that, a lot of people to survive have been using that first road. So how are we going to go over our steps, spending millions and millions of more money? We've left the donkey steps, it's done. Then you're going to get another whatever over the last few years, and now we've gone back to plan A. How can we assure those people down there that this work is going to be A grade?
Through you, Mayor, using the old Walgan Road, as we'll call it, for a permanent solution, it's still to be determined if that's feasible. There's work underway at the moment on design and looking at whether that can work as an option. and that follows a new risk assessment that was undertaken last year, that was presented to councillors and the community. So the interim works are simply to enable some access using the old road as soon as possible, and if council were to accept the recommendation as amended, as changed, then there would be no delay. We'd be able to stick to the timeline, which is at the moment, for the interim access to be opened in Q3 this calendar year, so later this year. It's not a huge package of works, but it will be enough to open the road on an interim basis.
So one more question then. Why is it now? Why couldn't we have done that 3 years ago?
A new
this is
report came
ludicrous.
forward. So 3 years ago there was a report done when you were mayor, and then a report was then commissioned again, and both reports contradict each other. So this is where we're at now. But we have to move forward from here. Thank you for your questions, Councillor Statham. They're appreciated.
Could I just add clarity to what the gentleman? We've also been put in. I just wanted to make a statement for the benefit.
You can do that in your right of reply, Councillor Ring, if you wouldn't mind. Councillor Fredericks.
So from my understanding, none of the big companies entered a tender due to the complexity and the small profit margin. How likely is it we're going to get a smaller company to enter in a tender if it's so complex and there's a lack of a profit margin?
General Manager?
Any company contracting, putting in a tender for these works would include their profit margin that would be expected, and then that's weighed up. Price is obviously one of the criteria for assessing the tenders. This is really one of very few options to proceed without calling for fresh tenders, which would delay the timeline. So we're asking for council to resolve on this matter, so we can ensure there's no delay. There isn't any guarantee that that any of the local companies will put in a tender, but discussing this with the project managers and the infrastructure team, we think this is the best way to proceed without delaying the timeline.
Another one from me, and then I've got one from Martin. Sorry, Councillor Tyson.
Councillor Tyson is an apology, Councillor Frederick, so the question needs to come from you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one I have is the funding for this, if someone puts in a tender and goes for it, is that coming from council coffers, or is that actually coming from the funding we've received by the state and federal governments?
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, it's coming from the state and federal governments through the disaster recovery funding arrangements.
Yeah. All right, and the last one is, what happens if there is no appropriate insurance provisions and risk assessments as included by Councillor Ring?
Through you, Mayor, if we weren't able to resolve the insurance and risk allocation issues, then we would need to call fresh tenders and determine the best approach for that. It would delay the timeline, but it would be the only other option.
Thank you, Councillor Fredericks. Any further questions in regards to this matter? Councillor Smith? And then I'll check with Councillor Goodwin.
Just on that same line, then where does the funding stand? If there's no sort of adequate risk coverage on this, where does then the government, state, federal, whatever stand, are they going to back it?
My understanding is the money's already been committed. Is that correct? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
The $385 million, including contingency figure, is approved, and these works will be funded from that approved allocation.
My understanding is also the General Manager works very closely with the state and the federal government in this matter.
Yes.
Councillor,
See, the question is then, is a risk factor covered if they'll still fund it, but is a risk factor covered by them? Are they happy to see that condition covered?
Through you, Mayor, it's been made clear by Transport and the Reconstruction Authority that this is council's project, so it will be up to council to determine how to manage the risk involved and the insurance for the project.
I think that's the important of the extra point. Is that how I see why that point that Councillor Ring's put in place is so important. Councillor Goodwin, I'm going to come to you because I know that it's hard when you're online. Did you have any questions or anything you want to say? Oh, okay. Can we fix that? I think his microphone. Can you hear us now? You can hear us? Yeah. Would you like to make any comment? Would you like to speak?
No, Mayor, I've missed the last 5 minutes. I couldn't hear a thing.
Oh, I apologise
So
for the inconvenience.
That's all good. No,
Are you happy with the
I
recommendation?
understand. I'm happy with the recommendation, yes.
Yeah, you're happy. Okay, you're right with the recommendation. Is there any further debate on this matter or questions? Councillor Ring, I'll come back to you for right of reply.
Thank you. We haven't made the decision to reopen the old road on a temporary basis. That decision was taken out of our hands by the Minister in a public announcement. She made the decision that the road would be opened and we'd do it, yet we're left with the risk and the insurance problems. Okay, that's the way the world works. And that's why I've moved this amendment, because I do have concerns about it. And whether or not there's another 4-week tender or another tender, I don't really care. What I want is a solution so we can invest our time and effort into getting it fixed and done properly. What we're doing at the moment is diversionary. It's nice little politics. It's let's keep a few very loud, well-connected people happy. But it's not helping us resolve longer-term problems. Our plan initially, and look, I was skeptical. I wasn't on council when this all happened, but the plan was to get a road that would be sustainable into the future. We need that. We just can't do it quick and dirty because a few people are vocal. And I'm sorry if that upsets them. I don't really care. Because we're the ones who have to live with the fact that there are families that still living there, not just the weekenders, but the families living down there with kids. If something happens to them and their kids, we have to live with that. As councillors and as senior staff. Government, they've already made it clear they manage roads worse than this, and it doesn't concern them. They can go and borrow money from anywhere. We can't. So we need to be very careful and cautious on it and deal with the risk as it stands. We need to understand the risks that are involved, reputational, life, financial, and make sure that the appropriate decisions are made. So yes, I don't really care if we this takes time. We've got to get an appropriate outcome. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. We move to business of great urgency. Does anybody have anything? No? Okay, then I call the meeting closed at 6:53. Thank you. Travel safely home.